Hey, what's going on, guys? OJ back here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about UFC fighters and ranking them based on the memes created about them. Now, some of these fighters actively create the memes, some of these fighters just go along with the memes that the community decides to make, and some of these fighters are actively butthurt about the memes that are made about them, but we're still going to include them because, it's actually hilarious because that's the whole point of memes. So I'm going to give you guys 10 fighters I would rank as the best memes or like memers, I guess, and just rank them based on like how funny their memes are. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. All right, starting off at our number 10 spot, we got Merab Dvalishvilli. Now, I am not the biggest fan of Merab Dvalishvilli. Not to say that I hate him. It's just I don't think he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. But I gotta respect Merab Dvalishvili for the memes, all right? You got the iconic picture of Merab emoting on Umar Nurmagomedov throughout their fight, which is how he was able to win. We also got Merab against a bunch of dudes from his gym with I don't know, kind of weird photoshops of each of the fighters that he's last beat. And we also got Merab Dvalishvili making his Ashton Hall impression of just like running at full speed. So I really appreciate Merab as a memer. Again, not my favorite of all time, and I do think some of his skits are a little bit corny, but at the same time, Merab Dvalishvili, right? He's an active champion and he makes funny skits at times. So I gotta respect that, which is why I consider Merab Dvalishvili one of the 10 best memers in the UFC right now. All right, now up next we got Renato Moicano. Now, 2024 Renato Moicano was absolutely peak. When Renato Moicano was talking about Bitcoin, or as how he would pronounce it, Beachcoin, the US dollar, studying Austrian economics, telling Emmanuel Macron to fuck off. If you guys don't know who he is, he's the president of France. I think Renato Moicano in 2024 was one of the best memers of all time. Now, he has kind of fallen off since because he has not been winning, he's not been too active. And after his loss to Benil Dariush, it was a bad look for Renato Moicano. But at the same time, there's a reason why many fans still support Renato Moicano. All right, he was a very active fighter. He was very funny on the mic. He was talking about getting his wife pregnant because his 65-year-old grandfather was able to get his third wife pregnant or something crazy along those lines. And overall, Renato Moicano is just a really funny dude. So, Renato Moicano, one of the best memers on the roster right now. He has fallen up a little bit again, but at the same time, there's a reason why I put him at the top 10 still as of 2025. All right, now up next, we got Gerald Mearshart, aka the GOAT. All right, just how good is GM3 for not getting taken down by Hamza Chimaev? Like Drickus couldn't stop the takedowns of Hamza Chimaev. Robert Whitaker couldn't stop it. All right, GM3 actually made Hamza Chimaev scrap, and let's just say the knockout that Hamza Chimaev got was CGI because Gerald Mearshart in real life could take on both DDP and Hamzat on the same night with no trouble whatsoever. Let's be real. All right, all jokes aside though, I really love the fact that GM3 plays along with the fact that he's like one of the greatest meme fighters of all times. All right. Like, especially when GM3 was on like a good run in 2024, that's when all the memes about him began to start. Like, he was collaborating with a bunch of MMA pages that I follow, like Tony Has Died, Houdini MMA, and he was able to just make a bunch of funny memes as a result. And I really love GM3 for that. I respect GM3's meme game. Unfortunately, he has been losing a lot of his fights recently, but at the same time, there's a reason why GM3 is considered the GOAT. He has more wins than Anderson Silva himself in the middleweight division. Like, of course, GM3, the GOAT, greater than Anderson Silva, greater than John Jones, greater than any fighter that you can name. All right, GM3, even though he's on a 3-fight loss streak, he is the greatest fighter of all time in our hearts. All right, now up next we got Islam Makhachev. I think Islam Makhachev is an extremely underrated memer, right? You got the iconic send your kids to Dagestan for 2, 3 years and forget. You got the I'll submit a kangaroo. You got Islam Makhachev riding a bicycle, mimicking the Conor McGregor workout. And overall, I think Islam Makhachev is able to express his personality a lot better than any other Caucasus region fighter. All right. Islam Makhachev is very underrated in terms of humor, and I love Islam Makhachev as a result. All right, it's very hard, especially for these foreign fighters, especially those from the Caucasus region, to really express any sort of laughter or humor. All right, most of them are just like carbon copies of Habib Nurmagomedov talking about, brother, I am always humble, and tonight I'm gonna smash this guy. That's typically how most Dagestani or Caucasus region fighters talk, but not Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev's actually very witty. Islam Makhachev is actually very underratedly funny, especially the kangaroo line. That was one of my favorites because he was dead serious about choking out a kangaroo in Australia. So I think Islam Makhachev, although a lot of people think that most Dagestani fighters are stale, boring, and just very uneventful, I think Islam Makhachev is a huge exception to that. He's very underratedly funny, and I appreciate Islam Makhachev because of that. All right, now up next we got Bilal Muhammad. Now, typically, most fans will just ridicule Bilal Muhammad because he's not that popular. He doesn't have the most exciting fighting style, and it's not like Bilal Muhammad is really fond with the fans. But at the same time, his memes about specifically about running Chicago are absolutely hilarious because prior to DDP going to Chicago, Allah Muhammad put out a video talking about how Drickus is never welcome in this city. Like, he will never get anything from any of the Chicago residents. And, a lot of us were just kind of chucking it up because, let's be real. Like, who's Bilal to say that he's not welcome into Chicago? It's not as if, like, DDP's literally fighting in Chicago at UFC 319. But during the press conference where DDP is in front of all the Chicago fans, all of the Chicago fans decided to boo Dricus Duplessis because they are all fond of Bilal Muhammad. And hats off to Bilal. He's actually backed up the fact that he secretly runs Chicago. All right. There's a reason why Bilal Muhammad's called the Chicago Green Reaper. Here's a picture of him hanging out with King Von over here, and specifically warning Drickus not to go to O Block. I think the Bilal Muhammad Chicago memes are underratedly funny. Again, even though you might not think that Bilal Muhammad is like one of your favorite fighters, again, he's very funny. All right, he's very witty. He was training to be a lawyer prior to being a UFC fighter, and although I understand why Bilal Muhammad isn't typically your favorite fighter of all time, I think Bilal Muhammad is very underrated, not in just terms of fighting skill, but also in terms of wits and humor. All right, now up next we got Bryce Mitchell. What do I say about Bryce Mitchell? Like, how about we point out the fact that he believes that the earth is flat? All right, there's already enough memes about that. We also have Bryce Mitchell and his certain political takes, such as how he believes that the big H is a guy to go fishing with. He literally had a one episode podcast series because let's just say he said some very controversial things. Like, there's a lot of things to meme about Bryce Mitchell. Again, Bryce Mitchell, like, I don't think he's all that well in the head, personally, but I don't know. The memes that come out from Bryce Mitchell are absolutely funny, especially the flat earth ones and the fishing ones, if you know what I'm talking about. So Bryce Mitchell, again, I don't think that many people like him, but at the same time, there's a reason why the UFC hasn't cut him. He can spark up a lot of controversy, and he's actually pretty funny when you don't take him seriously. Like, he is questionable at times, but at the same time, he is one of the most funny, memeable fighters on the roster right now. All right, now up next we got Mr. Redemption himself, Anshul Jubilee, he got redeemed by Quinlan Salkeld, and the funny thing was, right, India was hyping this guy up as the next big thing, and even Anshul Jubilee bought into the hype. For goodness sakes, like he literally talked about how he'll survive in the first round against Habib Nurmagomedov and either knock him out or submit him in the second. Brother, that has not aged all that well. Like, literally got folded up like a lawn chair by Quinlan Salkeld in 19 seconds. And then he got knocked out by Mike Breeden right before then. So it's not like Anshul Jubilee was an all-time great fighter in the first place. It's just hilarious to see a bunch of Anshul Jubilee edits. And all you can hear is the angry Indian scammer talking about, do not redeem the code. Do not redeem. Why did you redeem it? All right, that's typically how an Anshul Jubilee edit goes, and I find those absolutely funny. So Anshul Jubilee, even though he hasn't won a single fight in the UFC, even though I don't think he's gonna last in the UFC that much longer, his edits will always be a part of our hearts because it's one of the funniest things you could show to someone who doesn't watch MMA fights. At number three, I got John Jones. Like, there's a lot to meme about when it comes to John Jones. Like, you can meme about John Jones and his secret or closeted relationship with Dana White. You can talk about how John Jones fucked Tom Aspinall for the last year, only to retire from the sport. You could talk about how John Jones loved to sniff the back of Russian men's hair. I didn't think that was going to be a sentence until I saw what John Jones did in Thailand. All right. Or you could talk about John Jones's domestic abuse allegations. All right. Which aren't allegations. He actually did it. It's just that he pleaded no guilty or something like that. But John Jones, essentially, unlike any of the fighters I mentioned above, all right, I'm actually glad that these memes are negatively reflecting on John Jones. All right. John Jones, let's be real, is a piece of shit human being. All right, and he deserves to be made fun of, even though he's one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. All right, he literally had his cock in Dana White's mouth for the past year or so, and he actively refused to fight anyone who was in their prime, and instead fought 42-year-old retired fireman Stipe Miocic. And again, like, you can make a bunch of gay jokes about John Jones. So even though John Jones isn't the greatest person of all time, his memes are like one in a few, and I always have a laugh when it comes to making fun of John Jones because the John Jones memes are absolutely hilarious. All right, now up next we got the Michael Chandler memes. All right, what to say about Michael Chandler? The guy still believes that he's gonna fight Conor McGregor. All right, he's gonna be at the age of 70 by the time Conor McGregor actually decides to enter the octagon to fight him. You can talk about how Michael Chandler literally cheats in every single one of his fights just to lose. You could talk about Michael Chandler's low fight IQ. You could talk about Michael Chandler, how he always has this NPC, like, holier than thou attitude. But you can also talk about how Michael Chandler has a freakish fetish over black children. All right. For some reason, this guy only adopts black children. He literally makes his kids wish that they had a sibling that has similar skin color to them. And overall, I just find this incredibly creepy. All right. Not to say there's anything wrong with adopting black children. All right. Like, you could just adopt whoever you want if you're like a legal adult. But at the same time, like, this guy actively seeks only black children. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if this is some kind of social experiment that he's trying to prove. But either way, it's not right. So Michael Chandler, again, similar to John Jones, not the greatest person, and he's very fake. So I'm actually glad that people are calling out Michael Chandler's like kind of idiotic or like deceitful actions, and just prove that Michael Chandler, again, he's nothing more than a meme at this point in the UFC. He's not going to go anywhere as a serious contender, and people actually love that because, again, he's kind of just stringing along Conor McGregor's boots. Conor McGregor can literally talk about fighting Michael Chandler, and Michael Chandler instantly goes into his snake oil salesman pitch of, oh, he's going to fight Conor McGregor soon. Like, no, he ain't, brother. How many times do you have to fall for the same trick over and over again before you realize yeah, Conor McGregor's not coming back. So Michael Chandler, again, he's not the greatest person, which is why I love the memes. And I don't care if Michael Chandler necessarily does not like the memes. These are absolutely true. Therefore, they're absolutely hilarious. Last but not least, we got Shamil the Blob Gaziev. You know, this guy is a generational talent in the UFC. Some may argue the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time. You know, the first fighter in UFC history to gas out due to cardiac arrest and then quit on the stool. Look at his fight with Jairzinho Rosenstrike. And ever since Shamil was referred to as the Blob by Lucas Tracy, people have been trying to campaign Shamil Gaziev as the greatest of all time. All right, this is going to happen. Shamil Gaziev is going to get the UFC heavyweight belt by 2026. And look at Shamil Ghaziev's physique over here. Like, some may argue this is very unhealthy. All right. He's literally being compared to Tony Soprano of all people. But I argue that this is peak male athleticism embodied. All right. Shamil Ghaziev, unironically, is on a 3 fight win streak right now. And it won't take long for him to become a possible contender in the heavyweight division. So, Shamil Ghaziev, right, in 2027 will be having legendary fights with Tom Aspinall. Shamil the Blob Gaziev is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Tom Aspinall is literally going to retire before Shamil Gaziev even gets the chance to knock him out. And I believe that Shamil Gaziev, when it's all said and done, would be an even greater fighter than John Jones himself. So Shamil Gaziev is the greatest meme fighter of all time. All right, that's going to be it for today's video. Leave a comment down below if you agree with my list. And also leave a comment down below if I forgot to include any one of your favorite fighters that happen to have very funny memes. But other than that, if you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can get this channel monetized. But otherwise, I will probably see you guys later. Peace.